Hey, welcome to the Northwest Georgia Football Team FYN Week 2 Scrimmage preseason report, man. We got one more week of scrimmage games, man. Then we start playing for real. Joined by Benton Burge, Team FYN sports guy, NWGA football.
It is very, very close. If teams didn't have scrimmages last week, they got normally, or most teams will have one this week. Some teams had one last week and this week, so they're getting a lot of practice in. But we tee it up for real next Friday.
Yeah, next Friday. Well, actually, next Thursday. I saw
yeah.
I saw where Pepperell and Northwest Whitfield moved to Thursday night. I guess there's a ref shortage. Hopefully, that's something that doesn't last all season. But if it does, you got guys like us that don't care, man. We'll go watch football two nights a week.
Absolutely, or more if there's an opportunity.
All right, man. We got some of the scrimmage games for this week scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Got a list pulled up here. We'll go over some of the games that we know about. Hopefully, we have them all on the list. But if not, you can chime in and tell us the ones that we missed. But I know tomorrow night, or tonight actually, when this show airs on Wednesday night, Heritage is at Dalton.
Wednesday night. Man, I think both of these teams we've talked about, we don't know a whole lot about either one of these teams. So maybe we'll get to see some highlights, some footage of this. And not sure if it'll be on any of the networks or not, but I'd like to see a little bit of both of these teams just to give me an idea of what they might have coming into this season.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that Heritage team. They lost a lot of seniors last year. That 7-4A is wide open, after the top spot. I'm curious to see what they have coming back. A big one, man, on Thursday. A couple of big ones, really. If these were during the season, it'd be huge. Cass at Cedartown.
Yeah, you're really going to see what Cedartown's bringing back, and then give. I think we keep saying this. Give Cass another test. See if they can pass the test. I know it's just a scrimmage game, but you'll probably see 2 to 3 quarters varsity, and you're going to get a good read on what to expect for both teams. I think.
Yeah, you got Cass and Cedartown in one game, and you've got Rome and Rockmart in another. 4 teams that are going to match up for real the next Friday night. I kind of wonder how much they'll show for real in the scrimmage game. If they're just going to go out there and knock the cobwebs off.
Yeah, probably 5 to 7, 8 plays, and you might put a little window dressing on it and rip it a couple different ways. That's probably it.
Coach Poston and his Dade County Wolverines, man, heading over to LFO. I know LFO had a good game last Friday night in their first week. Went up to East Ridge, beat them 21-20, I think. I know those guys are excited for the 2023 season. We saw Dade back in the spring.
Yeah, Dade. I think it's been talked about. They lost a pretty darn good quarterback who did some heavy lifting last year, and this guy they got this year is not no slouch. So he's gonna have to play big, because I think it's gonna take that to be up at the top of that region. But interested to see him get some reps against LFO.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's in Lakeview. I know these two teams matched up a few times over the summer in 7-on-7, but they'll get to add the lineman to it this Friday night. See how that works out. Chattooga Indians at Ridgeland, a game I know you'll be at. Benton kind of hung up on us there for a second. We got you.
I'll be up. Yeah, I'm here. I'll be up at Ridgeland for the Indians and the Panthers. Interested to see what the new turf looks like. I wonder if it's going to be a duplicate of the image of the old turf. I'm sure it'll be, updated, but spoke with the head coach from Chattooga yesterday, and he thinks it's going to be a good test for both teams. Good matchup. Both teams in similar situations, young and upcoming. I think it's going to be a good test for both teams, a good barometer for Stuga to see where they're at right now at this point in the season early.
Yeah, from just the overall fan standpoint, it's a pretty interesting game because both teams are down last year, and they're young this year, and you kind of wonder what they both have coming back in 23. This would be a good chance for them to show it Friday night.
And like you said about you're probably not going to show a whole lot in those previous games that we were talking about. He didn't just come out and say it, but they're not going to go 3 or 4 pages deep in the playbook for the scrimmage game. You're going to get some generic plays, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Next up, man, it's a game that I'll be at Friday night. This would be a great game during the season. Adairsville at Trine. 2 teams that are, have high hopes for a title this year.
Yeah, actually, we talked about the Cass Cedartown and the Rome Rockmart. Well, this game right here, maybe I know it's a scrimmage, but it may have a little more hype for some reason. I think it's a very interesting matchup. You got, a region champ versus a region runner-up from last year. A couple different divisions. I think it's 3A versus 1A, and I think the Dogs are ready to prove that they can hang with them. And we're going to see how Mr. Bloom does against the Dog defense, and then vice versa. You're going to let Trine's offensive attack see what they can do against the Tiger defense. So.
Yeah, I think what everybody's interested in this game is seeing what Adairsville does post Chris Roper and what Trine can do with Ellergone,
Yeah, I think I'm interested to see how the line of scrimmage at Trine handles Adairsville's line because, man, they've been pretty large in the past couple of years.
We got Murray County traveling to Southeast Whitfield in a battle of next door neighbors. A couple of young teams, man.
I seen some highlights of that Murray County inter squad. I believe it was last week. They had a guy that was out there throwing it around, and I'm not sure the kid's name, but man, he caught a pass on the outside and took it to the house. So I was impressed with that ability. So you look down at Murray County's schedule, and it's kind of tough playing in that region they're in, but hopefully they can get some positive momentum going here. And I think it should be a good competition. I think it's going to be kind of like the Chattooga original game. It's going to be a good barometer for both teams, moving forward, get some positive going.
Yeah. I know we saw Southeast Whitfield back in the spring, man. They had that linebacker out there, sophomore linebacker, that was just all over the field on offense and defense.
Yeah, I'm sad that I can't remember the guy's name, but offense and defense, he was a stud, and he knows who we're talking about. So and I'm pretty sure that the opposing teams are going to know as well because I think he was probably the best player on the field for Southeast for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to give some love to our Paulding County people here. Hiram at South Paulding. That should be a good one.
Yeah, South Paulding losing a lot of production. We'll see what they can come up with. And then Hiram, Hiram's one of those teams, one year versus the other, you don't really know. So, I mean, I don't know a lot about neither team. What say you?
Man, you got to figure Hiram with a Wake Forest and Georgia Tech lineman.
Yeah.
They got a tight end going to USC. I mean, you would think they would have the upper hand no matter who they played this year. South Paulding has a quarterback that I'm interested in. I said I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he hasn't even taken his had his first start yet. Man, he's already got offers from Troy.
Nice.
Gabe Bobbitt, the tight end there. He got an offer from Austin P. I think he committed to Austin P last week.
Big time.
Here's a game you'll be interested in, man. Lafayette at Model.
Yeah, Model played last week, correct?
Yep, they beat Sonoraville 10-0 in the varsity portion and won 17-10 or 17-14 for the 4 quarters.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see what Model does with Calais Finley in the Lafayette attack. Looking to see, how Lafayette can handle the model offense. And the model defense, man, it just seems like they're always stiff.
That's
It's
what I was
tough.
just thinking, man. Every year under Honeycutt, no matter what they've finished the season as, man, they've always had a great defense.
Yep.
They can find a way to put some points on the board, you're in trouble. And I know Chattooga's got Lafayette week 1, right? So
that is the very next week. That's week 1, at Lafayette.
Here's a highlight game: Rabun County at Bowden. Two teams that are used to going deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Rabun, from what I understand, is going to be pretty young, but they're going to be talented. I mean, we're talking about a high school receiver last year that had 2,000 yards. Are you kidding me? When I know they sling it around. It seems like Chattooga played them like every other year in the playoffs in the 4-1 matchup, and I think we only played maybe 1 or 2 respectable games against them, but. They're going to be young, but you can't fool me. They're going to be talented. They'll probably have another gunslinger in there ready to go. So,
yeah, and Bowden had a pretty good showing last week in week 1 of the scrimmage. They beat Heard County 35-22. Out there putting points on the board again. Got athletes all over the field.
Yes, well, not really speaking of Bowden, but just I don't know why it makes me think about it. But man, last week I was impressed with the young quarterback from Central that took over. Man, I don't remember the guy's name, but I was watching some highlights and he was spinning it. He was spinning it pretty good for a young fella, and I think could have a pretty good future ahead of him.
Yeah, I think I skipped over our Thursday night game, so we'll go back there and hit these. Ringgold is going to be up at Finley Stadium at UTC, man, taking on Saudi Daisy. The Tigers had a real good show in week 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Saudi Daisy's got, but if they don't have a run defense, they might get fried. Anyway, but yeah, man, Hayden Fries, or however you say his name, man, he definitely showed out in the limited carries that he got in that game the other day, and I think he'd be looking for another big game out of him. I think you'd be watching him all year long.
Yeah, I know one of the questions we had coming into the season about the Tigers was the offense. We knew they were going to have a good defense. We just weren't sure who was going to step back there at quarterback and carry the offensive load, man. But they came out and put 41 on the board last week in the first half. Be a good test up there, man, on the turf.
Yes, sir.
Mount Zion at Bremen on Thursday night. Mount Zion lost to Temple last week 6-0 in their scrimmage. Bremen dropped on to Rockmart 35-7.
I think it should be a fairly even game, don't you think? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
We watched one of Mount Zion's region mates last year, and I think Mount Zion's going to have one of those teams that can battle with Christian Heritage, and obviously right now I think probably Bowden is just going to be a couple notches above at this point, but I think Mount Zion. I mean, I think it should be a good game. Let's say that.
Yeah, that's the thing I was thinking about today, man. That the region 7A Division 2. We saw Christian Heritage play last Friday night. Man, had a heck of a defense. Didn't give up any points till the third quarter. Mount Zion's got a great defense too.
Yeah.
I mean, do either team have enough to stop Bowden? Keep Bowden off the scoreboard. We'll find out late in the season, but Bremen and Mount Zion definitely should be a defensive battle for sure.
I think so.
Alexander at Carrollton. We get our first look at the Carrollton Trojans of 2023.
Yeah, I think they're going to sling it around for a little bit and then put the backups in. I think get a little, knock the rust off, as they say, and they got D1 tight end, D1 receiver, D1 lineman, D1 quarterback, D1 running back. I mean, they're just
it's kind of like we were saying earlier about about Cass and Cedartown and those guys. I don't think they're going to show too much on Friday night. They got a big one coming up next Friday on ESPN2.
Big one.
Hosting Langston Hughes. That's going to be wild. It's going to be a crazy environment.
Is it it's like a 5 or 6 o'clock start, is it not?
Yeah. 6 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, we might have to watch some of that pregame.
Woodland Wildcats at Lassiter.
Oh boy, I'll let you start on that one.
Yeah, I got a friend that his wife teaches down at Lassiter, and so I was kind of curious about the spread on that game. I looked it up, and like I said, it's scrimmage, so spreads don't matter. It don't matter during the season, but they were only a 5-point underdog at Lassiter. So I know the Wildcats have 4 or 5 guys who are going to probably end up playing the Division II football. I mean, they're stuck in there with Cartersville and Calhoun and Hiram, so it's tough to make the playoffs. But I think they're going to come out ready to play. I think they have a lot of excitement this year. Second-year head coach. I'd be real curious to keep up with that game on Friday night, see how the Wildcats do. Then we got the Battle of the Dragons, man. Pickens Dragons traveling to Pepperell to play the Pepperell Dragons.
Yeah, buddy, RJ is going to make the trip over, or I guess we'll be making the trip over to see the Pepperell Dragons. Went back and watched some of the highlights from Pepperell last week. I had a different quarterback that we kind of were broke into. Number 20-something. You normally don't see a 20-something quarterback, but he was throwing the ball around. They had a couple guys that could go get it. And, I think, was Jansen playing tight end?
Yep, Jansen was playing tight end. He had a couple of grabs there in the first half.
Yeah.
They had a wide receiver on the outside. I think I looked him up. He was like 6'1", at 6'2". So with Jansen and him, I mean, they got size on the outside.
Yeah, and who was the running back there they were handing the ball off to that was pretty quick?
I'm not sure.
I know. That's what I took a look at their roster, and they're playing a little hard to get on that roster there. We'll see what we can find out later on. But
yeah, we'll have our Green Dragon spy down there this Friday night. Maybe he can take some notes and
maybe he can say, "Hey, dude," when he gets tackled on the sideline, say, "Hey, dude, what's your name?" Hopefully, he won't say Ezekiel or Tony. Anyway.
Yeah, I believe that covers the spring games this Friday night, man. But let's talk a little bit about what we saw last week. I mean, maybe some of our expectations have changed. We'll start with 7A. I mean, how do you feel about 7A after what you saw last Friday night?
Man, I got mixed emotions a little bit. I think that I feel like our merch is going to challenge people. I feel like that they're going to come in there defensively and be able to slow the run down. Now, have we seen our merch against like an uber talented athletic team? Not yet. We'll see how that goes. I don't know, man. I think our Murchie is. I think they're battling for a playoff spot. I think I'm going to move them up in my. Not saying that they'll finish in the playoffs, but I think it's going to be much more difficult to travel down to Rome or our Murchie and get a W than it normally would, And I think going to Somerville and getting a win is going to be a little tougher than it has been. Obviously in the last 2 years or so, kind of been struggling a little bit. I think offensively, if they can, if the offensive line holds up, which they look pretty decent the other day on both sides, I think that they could score some points and, make it tough on folks. So they definitely have the skill and athleticism to do it.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of the same feeling I had. We went and watched that Chattooga inter-squad game prior to going up and watching the Indians and Christian Heritage. And, out there watching Chattooga, I thought, man, this team can compete for the playoffs. This is going to be a team that's going to give Dade County and Pepperell, Darlington a run for their money. Yeah. And then we go watch that game with the Blue Indians, and I felt the same way,
Yeah, I did too.
I was like, man, this is a team that compete with Dade, Pepperell, Darlington, Trine.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I would certainly like Dade or Murchie. I mean, that's going to be a slobber knocker. I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to be a knockdown drag out.
And that is the
I'm
final.
gonna tell you, if you ain't coming to tackle, Jackson Coonley he's gonna bring it to you. I mean,
Yeah, I got to watching some of those.
you better wrap up.
I got to watching some of those clips you took, man. He was dragging people into the end zone.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think they're gonna have a successful year, and
Yeah,
I
they
don't think
open up
there's
with
any bones about it in that inner squad that we've seen. I think if they give Cook a little room and the quarterback, work in a little passing game, I think Stuka could be, pretty good on offense for sure.
Yeah, that's something I got thinking about today too, man. Who is going to be the leading rusher in 7A? I mean, you've got Toby Maddox, you've got Demarion Floyd at Darlington, you've got Coonley, Cook.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are going to run the ball all over the place this year. You might have 4 or 5 guys in 7A that rush for over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I think so, and I think there's a couple situations it's going to depend on the offensive line. I hate to say Darlington, but I think Darlington is going to be one of those that depends on the offensive line. I listened to a podcast from Coach Groves did on the Darlington website. I don't know if it was a podcast or an interview, whatever you want to call it, but it was pretty interesting. He was talking about the team, had a couple players there, and talk about what they expect and all that, and he expects to go out there and win every game and go win a title. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you pull up his account on Twitter, I'm pretty sure it says 2-time state champ or something like that. He's serious about it. He's from Rome, right? He got his opportunity, moved over to
Rome. Yep.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy, kind of a younger fella. Yeah. Interested to see what Darlington's going to
do. Did you see anything from the 7A scrimmages last week that would change your mind on that? With Model, I guess Model and North Murray were the only 2 teams in action last week.
Well, North Murray is really puzzling me with the yardage and the movement of the ball and just not getting in the end zone right now. That's puzzling to me because I felt like in their spring scrimmage, I watched somebody blow somebody out, but yet they didn't score a lot of points. He's running up and down the field. When I say he, I mean the quarterback, and he's throwing the ball. And I mean, you're seeing all these big game plays, chunk plays, but not getting in the end zone. So hopefully that's something they can work out. And if my prediction is going to be right, then they're going to have to work it out.
Yeah. I thought the same thing, man. I watched that Pepperell North highlights. I watched some of the highlights that the quarterback put on huddle. I mean, he was throwing the ball 30, 40 yards down the field, man. They were picking up big yards in chunks. And I think they only scored once.
Yeah, I was befuddled by that. But, I mean, you give credit to the defense. That's one of those things that, when I spoke with the Stuga head coach, Coach Gable, he was talking about, he was excited how his defense had the goal line stand against Gordon Lee in the spring, and that from their first padded camp to their last padded camp and, how much growth they've shown. And, everybody's excited about it. And they've kind of, showed ownership in the team and it's their team, and those type things. And I'll put a little plug in there. Tomorrow, Thursday, you'll see the second ever episode of Tribe Talk. We'll have Coach Gable on. We'll get Tribe Talk going. And, we got our sponsor, Al Smith and Alpha Insurance, that's sponsoring this show and all of our shows, really. And he's also going to be on the Tribe Talk as a sponsor. So excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I said, if you need some insurance, man, that's the guy to call, Al Smith. He supports high school football all over Northwest Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, not just high school football, but all high school sports, and auto, home, and life insurance. He's got a little bit of everything. So,
yeah, a couple of games we missed, man. A couple of games I missed off the schedule.
All right.
Cahulla Creek, Gordon Central on Thursday.
Yeah, I think I would favor Cahulla Creek just a little bit, but Cahulla Creek lost a lot of production. I mean, they lost line of scrimmage, the quarterback. I mean, it seems like that's been a common theme this offseason. There's a lot of very productive high school quarterbacks moving on. And he was one of my favorites, to be honest with you. I think he was yours too, but
absolutely.
Kinnaman moved on, and they got a guy back there that can throw it now. But interested to see how their season goes. They'll be traveling to Somerville early in the year against Chattooga, so this will be a game that I'll be kind of keeping my eye on. Maybe see a few highlights of it.
I know everybody's pretty interested in Gordon Central too. They came out and won their spring game. See what they can do here in this scrimmage versus Cahulla Creek. And
that'd be exciting.
I don't see this game on any of our list, but for some reason I'm thinking I might be wrong. Somebody can correct me if so, but Villarica and Harrelson are playing Friday night.
Villarica and Harrelson. You spoke about Harrelson in the offseason that you really liked.
Mm-hmm.
What you saw when you was it the same, kind of ground and pound in the box offense?
Same ground and pound, man. Just 3.5 yards a carry.
Doesn't
matter. Guys are tough too, It doesn't matter. You know it's coming and you can't stop it. And Peavy's a great coach, man. He gets them kids ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah, and he's one of the top coaches around here. I would say, just he's been nice enough to even join the show before. On Friday nights, after the game, he'll come and join the show. Don't be scared to join the show, coaches. We're not going to call you out. We're not going to put you on the spot. I mean, we just talk, talk football.
Yeah. But I saw what was it, the Maxwell ratings? I guess that's what the Georgia High School Football Daily puts out.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can't go by those stats, just like you can't go by our stats and odds and whatever. But they actually had Harrelson County as the 4 seed in 7-2A.
Hey, I mean,
you never know.
Reason, I'd say.
Well, all right, man. This is our last scrimmage Wednesday night show. We'll be back next week with our first edition of the official Pick'em show, man, where we'll go through every game in Northwest Georgia, man. We'll tell you who we think is going to win. You guys can throw cups at us at the game. Yeah,
don't forget to get your picks in. Tell them how they can find it.
Yeah, nwgafootball.us. You can go on our Twitter page. I'll probably pin it to my profile here at the end of the week. Like I said, we had close to 320 people in it last year. It's fun, picking against the spread.
It can be confusing for some folks if you're used to picking straight up. A lot of my guys are used to picking straight up. Here's the best way I can explain it. If it has a minus next to the team, that means they're giving up those points. If it's got a plus, that means they're getting those points. So if my team has plus 10, they need to lose by no more than 10. Correct.
That is it, man. Well, all right. I guess we'll see you guys at the stadium Friday night. Benton will be up in Ridgeland. I'll be in Trine. And we'll be back next Wednesday night for the Pick'em Show.
Sweet.